I don't know when it started. This feeling. It wasn't sudden. It didn't hit me all at once, like people think. It was quiet. Like one day, you just realize the house sounds different. Not peaceful. Empty. I'm 74 now, and I live alone. I wasn't always alone. There was a time this same house felt too small, too loud. There were voices everywhere. My husband watching TV too loudly, my daughter yelling from the kitchen, my son running up and down the hallway like he owned the place. And I used to say, "Can everyone just be quiet for 5 minutes?" Funny, isn't it? Now I would give anything just to hear that noise again. People don't really talk about this part of life. They talk about retirement, grandchildren, peaceful mornings with tea. But no one tells you about, the silence. The kind that sits with you, the kind that follows you from room to room. Every morning, I wake up at 6:30. Not because I have to. My body just does that now. I sit on the edge of my bed for a moment, just looking at the wall. Sometimes I forget what day it is. Not in a scary way, just in a does it really matter kind of way. I make my tea. 1 cup. Always 1 cup. I still have the same kettle I used 20 years ago. It whistles the same way, but it doesn't feel the same because there's no one to call out to anymore. Tea is ready. Now it's just ready. And that's it. Sometimes I still cook like they're here. Not on purpose. It just happens. I'll make too much rice, too much food, and then I stand there, staring at it like, why did I make all this? And the truth is, my hands remember a life that doesn't exist anymore. My husband passed away 9 years ago. It was quiet. Even that. No big dramatic moment. Just a hospital room, machines, and then silence. I remember holding his hand and thinking, what am I supposed to do after this? No one answered that question. They still haven't. My children, they're not bad. Please don't think that. They call sometimes. Once a week, maybe. They have their own lives. Jobs, kids, responsibilities. I understand that. I really do. But there's a difference between understanding something and not feeling it. There are days I don't speak at all. Not a single word. The only sound in the house is the clock. Tick, tick, tick. And sometimes I turn on the TV just to hear voices. I don't even watch it. I just need to feel like someone is there. You know what's strange? Loneliness doesn't always feel like sadness. Sometimes it's just a quiet heaviness, like you're here, but no one is witnessing your life. Last week, I dropped a glass in the kitchen. It shattered everywhere. And I just stood there for a second, not because of the mess, but because of the thought that came after. What if I had fallen instead? What if I couldn't get up? How long would it take for someone to notice? That thought stayed with me, longer than it should have. Now, I carry my phone everywhere, even to the bathroom, even when I go outside to throw the trash. Not because I'm scared. Okay, maybe a little, but mostly because there's no one else here. I have a neighbor. She waves sometimes. We've said hello a few times, but we've never really talked. I've thought about knocking on her door, just to say, "Would you like to have tea with me?" But then I stop myself. I don't know why. Maybe pride, maybe fear of rejection, or maybe I've just forgotten how to start. I do have one companion, a cat. Her name is Mimi. She's old too. We understand each other. She waits for me at the door every time I come back home, like it matters, like I matter. And that feeling, it's small, but it's real. Sometimes, at night, I sit in the living room with the lights off, just sitting there, thinking about everything that used to be. The birthdays, the arguments, the laughter I once thought was too much. And I wonder, did I know back then that those were the best days of my life? Or was I too busy, wishing for quiet? Because now I have all the quiet in the world, and it's not what I thought it would be. You know, people think being alone means you're strong, and maybe that's true. But they don't see this part, the part where you just wish someone would sit next to you and say, "I'm here." Because sometimes that's all you really need. I was thinking about something last night. It kept me awake longer than usual. Not pain, not fear, exactly. Just a thought that wouldn't leave. What does it mean to slowly disappear from people's lives? Not all at once, not dramatically, just little by little. I remember birthdays, not mine, theirs. I used to plan everything. The cake, the food, the decorations. I would spend the whole day in the kitchen, complaining, sweating, getting tired, but secretly loving every second of it, because the house felt alive, because I felt needed. Now birthdays come and go. Sometimes I forget my own. Last year, my daughter called me a day late. She said, "Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry. Yesterday was crazy." And I said, No, it's okay. I didn't even notice." That was a lie. I noticed. I just didn't want her to feel guilty. You start doing that a lot when you get older, making things easier for everyone else, even if it makes things harder for you. I used to think love meant being surrounded by people, noise, laughter, constant presence. But now, I think love is something else, something quieter, something smaller. Like when my phone rings, and for a second, my heart lifts, just a little, even before I see who it is. That tiny moment of hope, it feels like everything. But sometimes it's just a wrong number. And I still answer politely. I still say, "Hello," like it matters. Because for those few seconds, it does. There's this chair in my living room, my husband's chair. I haven't moved it, not even an inch. People tell me I should. It'll help you move on, they say. But they don't understand. It's not about moving on. It's about not erasing. Because when you live long enough, you realize something strange. People don't just leave your life. They take pieces of you with them. And what's left is quieter, softer, a little incomplete. Some afternoons, I sit by the window, Just watching people pass by, mothers holding their children's hands, couples walking together, young girls laughing at something on their phones. And I catch myself thinking, I used to be part of that world, not watching it, living it. There's a difference, a big one. But here's something I've learned, and I didn't expect this. Loneliness changes you, not always in bad ways. It teaches you how to sit with yourself, how to listen to your own thoughts, how to survive without constant noise. I've fixed things in this house I never thought I could. Changed light bulbs, moved furniture, even figured out the TV remote eventually. It's a quiet kind of strength. No one claps for it. No one even sees it, but it's there. And maybe that counts for something. A few days ago, I actually did something different. I saw my neighbor outside, the one I told you about. She was watering her plants, and I almost just waved, like always. But then, I don't know. Something in me said, not today. So I walked up to her. My heart was beating faster than it should have. And I said, would you like to have tea sometime? It wasn't perfect. My voice shook a little. I felt silly, like I had forgotten how to be human. But she smiled, a real smile, and she said, I'd like that. That's it. That's all that happened. She didn't come over yet. We didn't sit and talk for hours. Nothing big changed, but something shifted inside me. For the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe I'm not completely invisible. You see, we think it's too late to connect, too late to start again, too late to matter. But maybe it's not about starting over. Maybe it's just about not stopping completely. Because even now, in this quiet house, with my 1 cup of tea and my old cat sleeping beside me, there are still moments, small ones, but real. A soft breeze through the window, a familiar song on the radio, a kind word from a stranger, a neighbor who said yes. And maybe that's enough. Not everything, but enough to keep going. If you're like me, if your house is a little too quiet, if your days feel a little too long, I want you to know something. You're not the only one. There are others, sitting in their own quiet rooms, thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same heaviness. We may not see each other. We may not know each other's names, but we're here, together, in a strange way. And maybe just knowing that makes the silence a little less heavy. And maybe that's enough for today.